Welcome back to Entrepreneur Shift. Recently, I asked my clients two simple questions. Why did you choose to work with us? And what made you stay? And I expected to hear about the results, our strategy, maybe a specific deliverable or campaign that really impacted their business. Basically, the kind of things that I would then use in case studies. But what I got back was something that I was pleasantly shocked by. And before I get into this, this is not a Let's Sing Katie's Praises episode. The reason that I bring this up is because as a business owner, and particularly as service providers, we live and die by the services that we provide our clients. We pride ourselves on the results and the transformations that we deliver. And if you are anything like me, and a lot of my team members, you can literally lose sleep wondering if you're doing enough, if your clients are happy, all of those things. So when I got this voice note back, it really put things into perspective for me. And I'm going to let you listen to it yourself because this client has an incredible English accent that I think we all deserve to hear. But the background that I think is important to share is that from a traditional marketing KPI perspective, so the metrics that you measure campaigns against to see if you're doing well or not, we're doing really great work for this client. We've grown their social following to over 2,500 in just under 2 months, with our monthly social reach being around 200,000 people each month. And we've also grown their email list to a few hundred. So I obviously kind of expected her to speak to the performance, but instead, this is what she said.
And then it's just your enthusiasm. I think that's really infectious and positive. And like I've said to you before, I just needed somebody in my corner. And I feel like you were really in my corner. And I think that that's not necessarily just a friend thing. I think that that's how you probably make all your clients feel like you're a cheerleader for sure. And I guess in comparison to my experience I was having with Ali, you're very like get up and go. Like once you're given a brief, you're like off and doing it. And, you're super fast as well. There's something about your Americanness and your fast paced drive.
Okay, so you hear what I'm saying about how great her accent is. I always say that she kind of reminds me of Emily Blunt, but like she might say otherwise because I'm just American tuning in. But anyway, what I want to say about this is that it was such an incredible reminder of what I've been saying to you guys, but that I don't always take into my own practices. But it is that in the world of services and being a service provider, so many people can do what we do. But just like what I was talking about in last week's copycat competitor episode, no one can take away the person and the personality from your business. And the bigger, more personal lesson for me that came from this was all the things that she talked about, the cheerleading, the energy, my speed. Those are the exact things that I have spent years trying to dial back, polish, or like, quite frankly, hide. And so that's actually what today's episode is about. So taking a quick trip down memory lane with me, going back to my first corporate job out of college, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to work. I had just graduated from one of the most social times in my life, and I assumed that you just kind of like transfer from sorority sisters, you get coworkers, and they become your best friends. So I was really focused on getting to know people around the office. And while it wasn't my dream job, I was still the type A perfectionist who wanted to make sure that she was doing a good job in the fastest time possible and while making everyone fall in love with me. So it's a lot of the qualities that Emma mentioned in her voice note. They shined through in my day to day. And from the outside looking in, you'd be like, oh, that's great, right? Like who wouldn't want someone who cares and who wants to deliver great work really quickly and wants to hear about your weekend? But I was wrong. I got feedback from my manager that my speed was actually a problem because it could make people believe that I wasn't taking my job seriously enough and that I was making careless mistakes, which I wasn't. And ironically, despite having one of the most unprofessional bosses, because honestly, she got fired for crap talking her boss to one of our agency's vendors, she told me that I needed to slow down, be more measured, be more subdued, and ultimately the message was be less you. So I did what anyone would do when someone in charge of your salary and your livelihood and like a real authority figure gives you feedback. I believed it. I implemented it. And the worst part was I really internalized it. And so even now, I still catch myself being hyper vigilant of how I'm coming across. And I have thoughts of like, well, am I being too much? Am I too animated? Should I wait to send this file so the client feels more confident that I reviewed it 4 times instead of just 3? And here's the thing that happens when it comes to restraining parts of you. You get pretty good at it, but it also feels horrible. For me, it was the squashing my excitement every time I could feel it bubble up. It was trying to come across as cool and confident when you want to do a happy dance for how a campaign went or something that happened in your client's life. And even worse, it's the judgment that you start to create about what those parts mean about you and how they are shameful and wrong. And I know how silly this sounds, especially as like a 30-something-year-old woman who's been in marketing for like 15 years and has owned her own agency for 7. Like on the surface, you're like, okay, Katie, like you're confident, you're you. We hear your personality. And also, like, who wouldn't want someone celebrating them and cheering them on? But again, when you're told you're either too much or not enough by the people who are supposed to actually know best about these things, you really take it in. That is until a client sends you a voice note like this and calls them out as the reasons that she chose to work with you and more importantly, chose to stay. So, going back to something I said at the beginning and will lovingly pepper into a lot of my content, your competitors can probably do a pretty similar version to what you do. So if you're a marketer like me, there are literally thousands of marketers. If you're a designer, a photographer, a consultant, coach, therapist, trainer, whatever, the technical landscape of what you do is probably crowded with people just like you and more entering daily. And someone can almost always match your deliverables, replicate your offer structure, undercut your prices. I mean, we literally were talking about this last week when it came to my client. But I will say this till I'm blue in the face, what they can never do is actually be you. So with that, the question then becomes, why do we build all of our entire marketing campaigns and programs around the things that we do, the services, the processes, the framework, whatever? And I will say that there are very solid reasons to start and stop from this perspective. It is a safer path, it's clear to articulate, it's more defendable and more professional, and it's easy to point to something and say, here's what you get, here's what you can expect, here's why it's worth your investment. And all of that information is obviously critical in the decision-making process and needs to be a part of it. But here's another less obvious reason that focusing solely on those pieces feels safer. Because we might say things like business isn't personal or some iteration of that. But at the end of the day, your business is an extension of you. And if you're here, you're probably a face of your business. So if we can still manage to somehow, some way separate us from our business, that then means that if people don't choose us or if they don't stick around, then we can also separate ourselves from whatever their reason why was or whatever we believe it to be. But letting this voice note along with similar feedback that I've gotten in the past, when I look back at my best, most favorite clients, why they chose us, why they stayed, it really never came down to the deliverables. It was how we vibed on our introductory calls. It was how they felt working with me and the team. It was the real way that we would make them feel like seen, supported. They knew that they had people genuinely in their corner who handled their business like it was our own and who would not sleep until we got the results that we wanted for them. Or even more so, if we couldn't, we let them know and we help them find a better solution to what they were trying to achieve. And what that results is you feel like you have a real person or a real team in the trenches with you, not just some humanoid agency vendor that like we all kind of know what those people are like. And while we can position those things as soft skills, they actually do provide a hard competitive advantage. So I'm going to ask you something that I really want you to sit with. What is or what are the qualities that you've been told most to manage in a professional content? Maybe it's your directness or the way you speak or the specific manner in which you try to get to know people. I've been around the block long enough to witness the weirdest feedback between me and my friends. So it could be something like that or something completely outlandish. And more importantly, I want you to sit with what did that make you think about yourself? And how did you internalize it? And how have you course corrected because of it? And now, I want you to consider the possibility that the people who said that you need to suppress what you're feeling or the way you're operating or expressing into the system that they thought they had to contort themselves into in order to be successful, maybe they were wrong. And maybe there are portions of that feedback that are right. And I trust you to be discerning enough to know what is that line and what makes sense for you and what will be your best path forward. But at the end of the day, maybe the system that they were trying to force you into is not the system that we need to fit into, especially now that you're in control of your business, of your livelihood, of your day to day. So I'm sure if you sit down and you think about how this applies to you, you'd probably see how all the random quirks and your uniqueness have made people choose you, stay with you, fall in love with you, refer people to you. Because here's what I actually keep seeing, both in my business and the ones that I work really closely with. The qualities that get managed down in the name of professionalism are oftentimes the exact qualities that create genuine connection, real relationships, and build that trust and loyalty. They're the things that are impossible to fake and copy. And they're the texture that breathes life into your day to day, not just the deliverable that you're handing over. And they're almost certainly not making it into your marketing. So let's talk about if and how this could be infused into what you go to market with. So you know how to talk about what you do. You've spent years refining that language, your elevator pitch, the website copy, the proposals, your case studies, and you know how to make the case for your work. But when it comes to talking about who you are, how it feels to work with you, most people either skip it entirely or gesture at it so vaguely that it kind of lands as nothing. So that's why words like passionate and dedicated and client focused will show up everywhere, but they lack depth because they've been so watered down by their overuse. What actually works is specificity. The same specificity my client used in that voice note. She didn't say Katie is dedicated and responsive. She said specific things about the moments that made her feel a certain type of way. And specifically, that's what made it land both when I was listening to it and maybe when you heard it as well. So the question for your business is, what are the specific things that happen in your client relationships that make people feel the way they feel around you, by you, because of you? What do your clients actually say when they describe working with you to someone else? And if you don't know, then just ask, like truly, the same way that I have been asking my clients, because the answers may surprise you for better or for worse. And then I want you to take those answers and let them inform how you talk about yourself. And for my humble overthinkers listening, you know the difference between describing and bragging. Because when you infuse this into how you speak about your work, it's a simple, honest, this is actually what it's like to work with me type of vibe. And that's exactly what your future favorite clients are looking for. It's the reasons that your future favorite clients are tuning in. And as scary or unnecessary as it might sound, that version of you needs to be loud and visible in order for your future favorite clients to find you. That is a mouthful and a drinking game, but I digress. So anyway, because you know I love a practical to-do list, let's put this into action. Obviously, I already told you to ask your clients what they think, but let's break it down into 3 really easy steps. So, 1, collect your evidence. Ask your favorite clients informally because this doesn't need to be this big formal request or survey or anything like that. But you can start by just simply asking, why did they choose you? And what would they tell a friend who is considering working with you? Record it if they'll let you, take notes, and look for patterns across what your clients are saying. Number 2, listen for the quality or the qualities that keep coming up, particularly if they're the ones that you tend to hide or downplay. It's the things you'd never mention in your bio because it feels too unrelated or personal. It's the energy, approach, or the way of working with you that you thought was like too niche or too specific or too much or just like unnecessary to include. But that's probably your differentiator. So, number 3, let it be visible and not just in the formal, like, about me page that no one's really reading, but how you actually show up online and in person. Let people hear and feel it in the way that you talk about your work, in the texture of your content, in the voice notes you send to clients, and the way you open and close your podcast episodes. Let that energy really shine through and let people feel how genuinely lit up you are by something so they can be lit up as well. And the businesses that stop hiding from it, the ones that let their most human parts of themselves lead, those are the ones that build the client relationships that no one can touch. Because as always, as I've been saying for literally 7 years of running my business, people choose you, not necessarily a version of you that's been polished down to something safer, you. And also, for better or worse, the parts that you've been trying to hide, people see as shown by this voice note. So trust yourself to keep showing it to the world and trust that the right people will find you and choose you because of it. People want to see you. I want to see you. So let that freak flag fly. I'll talk to you guys next time.